What up, y'all? Hey, welcome back to another episode of the pod, Talk Your Shift, of course, presented by RGIIIV. We got ourselves a special guest in here with us. But first things first, I got to introduce my big brother, Lou. Say what's up, Lou.
What's going on, everybody? It's been a while. Excited to get back and talk about some of these hot topics, and we ready to go. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And of course, I talked about that special guest. I got my boy, longtime friend with me, Joe Rock, in the house with us. Say what's up, nigga.
What's going on? What's the deal, y'all? I'm in here. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Hot topics. We know we going right into the NBA. You got your MVP, SGA. Joker, could have won his fourth or something like that if he would have won third or fourth. So we're just talking NBA talk. We got the matchup between SGA and Ant in the Western Conference Finals. Oklahoma City, Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, what do y'all think of just period? Like, what about that matchup? What do y'all think about the contrast of different personalities? You know what I mean? 'Cause SGA is like more reserved, and Ant is just out there. Like, what do y'all feel about that matchup? Because I thought that was the most intriguing part about the Western Conference Finals to me.
Go ahead, Joe Rock.
Well, yeah. The matchup is crazy. We got two different skill sets. We got two different personalities, two different people coming from two different backgrounds. I love the way Anthony Edwards play. I love his tenacity. I love the way his grit and his whole game is crazy. And it's nothing but upside. But SGA, on the other hand, that boy got skills. He ain't no doubt about it. It's just something about it. He's a cold sniper. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's a silent assassin. He don't talk a lot. He don't make no noise.
Right.
Before you know it, he got 34, 35, 36, 40 on you.
But what you think about them battling back and forth, like in the sense of, do you think that SGA kind of uses, and I'm gonna go to you too on this, Lou, like you think SGA uses the refs a little bit more to his benefit than Ant? Do you feel like that is more of a leg up? Because I do feel like Ant kind of get picked on a little bit because of that personality. You get what I'm saying?
It's very easy to get the one that got the attitude. You know,
Right.
It's very easy for that. So I think, yeah, the nice guy is always gonna get a little, love from the refs. You know, the brash, the young, the cocky, the arrogant is always gonna get a little bit more attention in that aspect. So yeah,
Right.
for sure, the refs is looking, and you got somebody that's talking they talk, popping they shit. They gonna get all the eyes on them. Why SGA sneak through the back door and drop 40 and 50 on them.
Yeah, easy. Lou, what you think, man? Like, because I'm thinking like, I feel like Ant is gonna be the main guy, the main character, but I just feel like the NBA is not gonna allow SGA to just go away. You know what I mean? Like, because for one, I think his game is gonna speak for itself, but I do also think he's gonna get the benefit of the whistle more so than Ant. So does that give him an edge, you think? Especially that MVP thing. He got the MVP now, so they're going to give you calls like that.
Well, for one, I think it's a wonderful matchup. I don't think that there could have been any other teams coming out the conference finals that would have been better than these two seeing one another. Ant-Man is the new face, man. And and what I mean by that is he is the one who is out there for the most part, like bringing the attention towards his way. You know what I mean? He's the new Allen Iverson of the league. You know what I mean? And so,
okay.
SGA is more of a, subdued player. You're not going to hear a whole lot from him. He's kind of like, Russell Wilson as opposed to Marshawn Lynch. You know what I mean? The league, and if you're talking about football, when it was time for them to, name an MVP and things like that or whatever, we know that Russell Wilson was like the notable choice based on the NFL standards. So I'm thinking the same thing as far as the NBA. SGA would probably get the nod as far as him just being a player that goes out there and let his game prove it. But Ant usually comes with a little controversy. You know what I mean? He's always looking for a person to get at. You know what I mean? He has some words to say in the last series, about just wanting to beat Draymond because he thought Draymond talked too much. You know what I mean? And so,
which is hilarious that somebody like Ant talking about somebody talking too much. That's
right.
Crazy.
I just think it's good for the NBA though. You know what I mean? You got to have a mixed bag. Just having everybody being the same players would get a little boring and stagnant. But again, two wonderful matchups. I really can't say right now. If you ask me to pick who's going to be, I think OKC is going to come out the series, not because they won the very last game. I just think that they play a better team game, in my opinion, than Minnesota does.
Yeah, man. And some of the points that you just made, I wanted to, to get your rebuttal on you too, Joe. I wanted to talk about, you mentioned new face. We talked about SGA MVP. Is he deserving? Is he now the front runner for that new face? Because there's a lot of people we can throw on that list, right? We got Luka, even though he's not in the playoffs right now, but 25, 26 years old. Come on, bro. He can be one of the faces too. You know they want a good old white face. I'm just being honest. I mean, they'll take that, nigga. They ain't had that since Larry. You know what I mean? So they'll take that. I mean, they had the Dirks. Don't get me wrong and all that, but I was talking about face. I'm talking about face. Dirk wasn't the face of the NBA. You know what I mean? He was a superstar, but he wasn't no face. You know what I mean? So what do y'all think about? And I'm gonna go to you first, Joe. What do y'all think about the MVP choice? What do you, as far as like, do you think that is a valid choice? Because I'm gonna tell you, I'll give y'all my thoughts, of course. For one, do you think it's a valid choice out of the options? Joker, Luka, you know what I mean? All these other people that could have been. Then does that make him the leader, the face of the NBA? The new lead, the new young leaders of the NBA. Because you got Ant, you got Luka, you got SGA, you got these other Brunson, you know what I mean? These other kids that are all under 30, under 28, you know what I mean? And in the Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals. So, let me get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think SGA just got a little bit more cooking to do. He got crowned this season. He been balling. There's no doubt about that. But
But how much more though, Tone? Because think about it, and I don't mean to cut you up, but 5 straight years this man has led the league and drives to the basket. I mean, he is attacking and he's making a name for himself. So how many years do you want? How long he got to
I'm
do
talking about the
it?
face. I think he deserved
Okay.
the MVP for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
But to be the face of the league, nah, I don't think he deserved
Nah.
that at all. He need a little bit more cooking, man. Because
Talk to me then.
yeah,
So who you
okay.
throwing
So
out
look,
there?
so you got Luka, you got Joker, you got Anthony Edwards, which I know you don't want to be the face, but I think they're
But
gonna
neither
make
do
him the face.
Joker. Neither do Joker. Joker don't want that shit. He
I
don't
don't
care
think
nothing about
no,
it.
I don't think it's gonna be a foreign face on there. I don't think you need
Okay.
translators and all this other stuff. No, I don't think that's gonna make it. It ain't gonna fly. We need somebody with that swagger, what I'm saying, all the Gatorade ads, them Nike ads. They what I'm saying? That brings the flair to the game. You know how we had Jordan. He was a role model, but he wasn't like the role model. He just did his thing. His game spoke for itself. And his swagger was out there. You know what I'm saying? You got Kobe, had the mama mentality, face of the league. He was, what I'm saying? He was just dedicated to the game, the purity of the game and being the best. You know what I'm saying? So what I see in a Luka Doncic, even though he's a foreigner, I think he has a swagger about him, a grit about him that other foreigners don't have sometimes. You know what I'm saying? They come in, they kind of like, lightweight. They don't do too much, but he's only 25 and he can be somebody to look out for. But I think it's gonna be Anthony Edwards. I think they're gonna force him to be the face, and he
ain't gonna have no choice.
Yeah, he gonna have no choice, man. I mean, come on, man. I think he's
Hey,
warming up.
These guys got to win something first, man. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah, for sure.
out of everybody, I think the first one to the first chip will be the one that we'll be talking about. It we'll host them a little higher than everybody else. But right now, thinking about every name that we mentioned or whatever, nobody got nothing. I think SGA
Yeah.
is probably the first one that has accolades or whatever the case may be.
all right, so we were just talking about Joe Rock. Joe had made some valid points about SGA and why he's deserving of the MVP. Not only the MVP, why he's not ready just yet. The face of the league. You know what I mean? I honestly, we were gonna pick up Lou's and get your thoughts on it. So, and then I'll follow up. But Lou, what were you saying in regards to just your feelings about that as well?
Well, a little earlier, just to put a little clarification by me saying Anthony Edwards being the face, I mean amongst his peers. I just think he's a person to talk about. He's a person of interest right now just because of how his game is and, who he is on the court. I think, people like, the guy who comes out and says what he says, but also backs it up. You know what I mean? And I think he's just one of those guys, the talker. I think he's one of those players that it helps to boost his game when he knows that he can get into another player's head, and so I think amongst, peers and the trash talking and things like that, I think Anthony Edwards, would be, more so than he would kind of like to be the Kobe, you know what I mean? If we're talking about Kobe and Tim Duncan, I would think SGA would be considered to be more of a Tim Duncan. You know what I mean?
Right.
Spurs were always boring in the years. Nobody really wanted to watch their games, even though they had spectacular players on their teams. But it was because it was a slow and not sexy game that people didn't really care about, those players and didn't really host them above, some of those players that may have been on the same level, you know what I mean, or even better. And so, again,
Right.
GA just by, sheer numbers going back, I think he deserved his MVP. I think he got robbed by another one last year. I think he should have two by now, but, it is what it is. And, Joker, he's also deserving. And let me say one more thing on this topic that I just think is just interesting, just talking about this. It would have been crazy for Joker to win one more because I think it would have been his fourth, but it would have been his fifth time, and I think it's still this year, his fifth year consecutively where he's been 1 or 2 for 5 years in a row, which is crazy in itself. You know what I mean? If you just think about that, 5 years, I could have won it 5 years in a row. It was me and somebody else. So I thought that was impressive as whatever, but I thought it went to the right person this year.
The
Yeah,
thing about
man.
Joker, let me get it. The thing
Yeah.
about Joker is he don't never look like he's doing a lot. Like he just don't look like he's in a rush. The boy don't look like he's working at it all. Like he look like he eat brats on before the game, and he just don't look like he's an athlete at all. But then at the end of the game, when he put up 40 on you
Right.
and 15 or whatever, it just looks like where the fuck, how the fuck, how do you stop that? Like he just don't look, he just meander up the court. He just be moving so
Yeah.
sluggish, but then he
But
just work.
I think that tone, that's a big part of why not just his game and how he looks and his personality, but that's also a part of why he can't be the face. You can win the MVPs,
Yeah,
but he can't be. Not only does he not want it, but he can't.
yeah,
I think, and that's another point that I was going to make in regards just to overall. I think the face is not chosen. I think they try to pick it. I think the recent faces of the NBA. Just think about who they were. They made themselves the faces of the NBA. It was not a narrative for the NBA to push them forward. They had no choice.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Prior to the Kobe's, the Jordans, the LeBrons, you don't have a choice.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? You don't, and the league didn't have no choice. Now, some players are easier to push than others. You know what I mean? But I do truly think that we're in the era where we are at a point where the NBA has to choose who they want to push.
Well, you know what?
I think that
A little earlier, I was just, me and Joe, we was having a little conversation, and I was telling them that I really, to tell you the truth, going back to, who is the original face, I was letting him know they got to win something first. You know what I mean? None of these guys that we've mentioned have won anything, not one of them. Once you
I
start
disagree,
winning,
Lou.
huh?
I disagree. Mike didn't win.
Mike didn't
He
win
didn't
what?
win first. He didn't win nothing first before he was a face. He won nothing. They barely even made it to the playoffs, and they anointed my guy. They didn't have a choice. It was his airness that made him the face. He didn't win a thing.
Listen to what this is what I'm saying. Before Michael Jordan won anything, he was not the face.
You gotta be kidding me if when he went up in Boston Garden and put 63 on Boston in that loss, it was over. And he didn't win. He wasn't no champion yet. And it was over for everybody.
No, it
Larry
wasn't.
Bird said
You
it.
know who he was at that point? He was Anthony Edwards. He was just making a name for himself at that point. He was not above Magic and Bird when he lost. No, he was not.
You're trying to tell me in 80, 86, 88 that he wasn't above Magic and Bird.
He was on his
You trying to
way.
you
He was on his way, but no, he had not surpassed
I
those
think
guys.
by the late 80s he's already passed him. By the late 80s he's already passed him.
And you
Because
saying
by the night he won the championship in 90. He won it in 91. He was already and the league knew it. The league was pushing him forward. They already knew it.
he was on his way. But guess what? Ant-Man is on his way. I'm saying the same thing The young man is on his way. We are talking about him not in the same way that we were talking about Michael Jordan or whatever, but we
I just don't think Ant is done what Michael Jordan has done in that time span. It's not even close.
I think Magic was the face. Magic was the face, and all the way up until
when?
I want to say the last. Well, I'm gonna say Bulls versus Lakers when he dethroned Magic.
So you think he had to? You think that by '91, Jordan wasn't the face until '91?
No, he wasn't the face. It was
Hell
Magic.
no.
Magic had the.
That's crazy work.
Magic had the smile. Magic's everywhere. Magic's still everywhere. He's still the face.
Michael Jordan was no. He's still everywhere. But I think he's everywhere now because he's a great businessman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, but I get what y'all saying. But I think Jordan was resonated in the league not just by the other players, his colleagues had put him into their status. I think the NBA had already put him there. But he was the Gatorade guy.
Lou said he was on his way. Anthony Edwards. You see Anthony Edwards bubbling right now.
No, but I'm saying I think he was there already. I don't think Anthony Edwards is there, and I don't think that Anthony Edwards has accomplished what Jordan has accomplished by that time.
If he win the championship this time, you think he gonna be there?
I think Anthony Edwards is going to be the face because it's not going to be by his choice. That's what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm making. I'm thinking that I don't think they're going to have a choice. That's where I'm trying to get to. I think
villain. Like he's going to be like Batman.
It ain't going to be no choice. It ain't going to be no choice because he's going to be there every year. You know what I'm saying? Like
Jason Tatum. What happened? They just passed him up.
Oh.
It's over.
No, for real though. He can't get past Jaylen Brown. He on his own team. Because Jaylen Brown get questioned about his toughness against Jaylen Brown as far as who's the better person on the team. Yeah. And Jaylen Brown, as far as I checked, the last one that got the Finals MVP.
Reg, let me explain like this. I'm thinking we moving a little fast on Anthony Edwards, even though I think he's up and coming. He's not even a bigger name than Jalen Brunson. You think so?
Whoa.
I don't agree with that.
Whoa.
I don't think so.
He's not bigger than Jalen Brunson?
I don't
agree with that.
He's a bigger name.
Yeah. He's first of all, he's more marketable.
I do not. Absolutely
he got more
not.
sound bites. He gets more publicity.
I think that you were mistaken on that one, Lou.
Yeah. Listen.
I think that you were mistaken on that one.
I'm standing on what I'm saying. Give me one of them today. I'm picking Jalen Brunson.
Okay, so now you're talking a different conversation, Lou.
No, but listen, hold on.
Now, no, you said one is bigger than the other one. Now you're talking about what's your preference. Preference is a different conversation than which one is a bigger player at this moment.
Amongst his peers, now we were just talking about SGA and AntMan.
Right.
So out of those two names, I'm telling you who they're elevating Anthony Edwards. They still doing that, but he is not bigger than Jalen Brunson. No. He is not.
Yeah. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one, big bro.
No, he's not. No.
Bigger star.
He's more flashy than Jalen Brunson. But I don't even think I don't think that he's on in the moments and when it's crucial. If you ask me who I would prefer to,
that's a different conversation, Lou.
That's opinion.
That's a different conversation because now hear me out. We're talking like that as far as game on the line type shit. I want Jalen Brunson too because he's a more consistent player. He's proven to be a more consistent clutch player.
But
that's different. But you're saying a bigger persona, a bigger star. He's not more notable than Anthony Edwards. That's crazy. That is insane what you're saying.
I understand that. But we can't say that's because of what happens on the basketball court only. No, it has to do with swag.
It's the total
it has to do with swag. It has to do with
the total package.
Post-game interviews.
Yeah. But when you say bigger, you can't distinguish where that ends.
But when I'm talking about
you can't
listen, when we're talking about the players of old, we don't have nothing to do with it's only talking about their game. Now we're finna give this dude some credit because he come in his post-game interviews looking like he live on my block. You know what I mean? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Hey, wait a minute, bruh.
no,
Come on.
this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's not that kind of player. I'm saying there are other components that give him that cachet, not just his game.
But it includes his game. It includes the game.
Yeah, because he was trash. It don't matter how much cash he had.
Yeah.
If he was trash.
Then he Patrick Beverly, nigga. No, for real. If you can't score, if you don't get buckets, you just a loud talking Patrick Beverly.
Right.
So all I'm saying is the nigga can go in and give you 50, you a 50 burger on the road. That's a different animal, bro.
Yeah.
And on top of that, don't get me wrong. I understand what you mean. You're talking about elements of impact in the game. I understand. I think that Jalen Brunson is just a more controlled player. Period. I think he's more under control, and especially in tighter parts of the game. You can see Anthony Edwards is a little more loose in a lot of those situations where Jalen Brunson kind of has a determined. He knows exactly what his plan is and what he plans to do.
He's more trustworthy.
But he's also a point guard. That's the second scorer. You see what I'm saying? Anthony Edwards is not asked to do the floor general type of thing. He out there to get buckets. You see what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong. I understand what you mean. What you mean by that. But let's not. I ain't gonna let you get away with this shit because I know you. I know you are Gen X. And you talk about players didn't have swag. We only looked at players. That's bullshit. Jordan was the one came in with the gold chains, nigga, and the first one to wear the black socks and get fined for it. All that shit. He brought swag, nigga. That's what it was. That was a part, but that nigga, you can't. It was a part of his airness. It wasn't just him between nigga off the back door over Larry Bird. It was also after the interviews with the swaggy jumpsuits and the Air Jordan 1s that got banned in the commercial where they crossed out the Nike, the Jordan. That shit is classic.
So guess what, Reg? You just said
Jalen Brunson ain't nowhere near that. That's how I know Anthony Edwards is a bigger persona.
Reg, listen to what I'm trying to say. And the point that you're making right now, you're making the exact point that I'm making. I'm saying if we're talking about Jalen Brunson and we're talking about Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson is Magic. Anthony Edwards is Michael Jordan. And I told you, Magic is over that nigga. I just said that.
Okay. No, that's bullshit. Because Jalen is not Magic.
Joe said it too.
Jalen is not Magic. At that point, Magic was a champion. Magic was a champion. It's different, and he was a champion that contributed. Jalen Brunson is not a champion.
To the table, and none of these guys brought nothing yet.
But I'm saying you can't put him in comparison to the same cachet as Magic Johnson when he hadn't accomplished those things up until that point. I'm comparing Anthony Edwards because they both accomplished the same fucking things. Scoring, dunking over everybody, but no wins. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And Jordan was still the face. He was still the main one on commercials. He got the Gatorade. He got Wheaties. He got fucking Nike. He got the big contracts. He got all that shit before winning anything. Just like Anthony Edwards. Just like Anthony Edwards, the shoe deal. Anthony Edwards on T-Mobile. He on every commercial right now.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying? It's by force. By force. You see what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I totally get what you're saying. There's certain scenarios where I'm gonna want a Jalen Brunson type more so than an Anthony Edwards type. It just depends on what my need is as a team, as a GM or whatever I am at the time. Right. It depends on that, depending on what I need or what call for. There's certain scenarios that calls for a Jalen Brunson type of player. Okay, so there's certain times you need that dog.
Right, and I don't want to go too far all over the spectrum or whatever. So would you agree? Because a little earlier, Joe said, "What about Tatum? You think he's a bigger star in the area of endorsements and stuff like Tatum? Tatum is in every commercial. This dude in a bunch of commercials,
right?" But I mean, if that's it, Tatum's personality is not likable, which is a part of the package.
He ain't got the cash.
It's a part of the package, my guy. You can't have the boxes.
Right.
And my boy checks, I don't want to make it a light skin thing and all that, but hey, you know what I mean? It's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of that going on in there. Jason is safer. Jason is he gonna get the commercial because they know they ain't gonna mess nothing up. He gonna get the endorsements.
Right.
But as far as being a front runner, as far as having one to have nobody don't want the camera in front of Jason Tatum. For
star
what?
Power. He got that star.
For what?
AntMan
they'll have him if Deuce is there. If Deuce is with him, then they'll put the camera in front of him. Because they want that father-son image. They don't need nothing there for Anthony Edwards. All we need is you, player.
Yeah, I got it.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's good discussion, man. Good topic, man. We
Oh
all
yeah.
here talk your shift. We like to shift topics a little bit.
Yeah.
We jumping around here, little things that we like to talk about may not have nothing to do with the previous topic. So y'all got to stay with us. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready around this month. All right. Hey, so what we got next? What we said we wanted to talk about? What was it? What's her name? No,
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Ryan Clark. That kind of leads into the Caitlin Clark, you know,
AngelReese.
AngelReese
Yeah.
situation. And though for those of you that don't know, RG3 made some comments. Y'all can go look him up, man. But everybody know kind of RG3. He got a little coonery in him. You know what I mean? It is it is what it is. You know what I mean? He got a little bit of that. He's the type of one to say some stuff like, let's get these jigaboos out of here on national TV. His words, not mine.
He couldn't operate from the pocket. He's not the quarterback of the future. I think he proved all those jigaboos wrong.
You know what I mean?
And
Like,
when you talk about
whoa, he said that. You know what I mean? So this situation was RG3 made some comments about AngelReese disliking Caitlin Clark, just straight out disliking her. I don't know if it's because of her color or her being jealous or whatever, but it kind of just painted a picture of how he seems to feel about black women. He feels that they're angry. He feels that they're jealous or whatever it is, and he made some comments about Caitlin Clark, and Ryan Clark came to her defense, you know what I mean? And basically eloquently told him that you don't really understand the plight of a black woman. Ryan Clark, kind of mentioning that while his wife is a lovely lady, he said he met her, and that he doesn't have a problem with her, but she can't understand the type of scenarios that these black women are dealing with, and he's not confronted with those issues or topics on a regular basis, being that he don't have a black woman in his life. You know what I mean? So in Ryan Clark's comments, it kind of started a little bit of a back and forth, but it led me to the topic of what do we feel about this Caitlin Clark, AngelReese? What do we feel about the comments about RG3? And how we feel? Do you think it should have been put out there that way? Like, what do you feel, Lou? I'm gonna go with you first.
Well, you know what I mean? I haven't really been close to this story, you know what I mean? And, I play a little devil's advocate on both ends or whatever the case may be and say, is there any evidence that can be put forth, that says that AngelReese doesn't like her? You know what I mean? Like, where's the evidence, first of all, to make such a huge statement like that? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's very, very possible that she don't like the girl for a number of different reasons or whatever, but is there evidence behind it? I think that's one of the first things it brings me to, like, what would make you say that other than being mad that, you got a hard foul, you know what I mean, in the last, series that you guys played, and AngelReese fell to the ground or whatever, and she got back up, you know what I mean, in an intense way or whatever the case may be, coming back at Caitlin Clark, which we see a play like that in, the WNBA, the NBA. I mean, that's a regular play, for most part on any other day. So just for him to put that jacket on her, and use that scenario, if that's what he was using or whatever, didn't seem like it was a whole lot or what they would consider to be a sample size, to make a statement like that. Now, I think it's good for the NBA that they have two young ladies or whatever, as skilled as they are or whatever, to come in and, bring a little bit more, notoriety to their sport and to their game. But again, because RG3, he liked the white girls, man. You know what I mean? As far as I know, you know what I mean? He liked them white girls. And sometimes when you got to go home and live with one or whatever the case may be, you do what you need to do to make sure that your side of the bed or whatever is available for you. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe he just went out there because, he needed a little bit of tender love and care from the wifey or whatever, and he wanted them to know that he's supporting the white folks. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that's just how he get
Right.
down. You know how he
Hey,
do.
you know
How
what?
he do.
And that's the part of, right. That's what I'm
That's a
saying.
good point.
Hey,
Good point.
no, for real though. For real though. And it don't, whether it make it right or wrong or not, it still is valid. It's valid to even to bring that up. So Tone, like what you think about it? Because I know I got my thoughts, but what you think?
Robert Griffin III, that
He gonna say
motherfucker,
it's for
he out of pocket. He out of pocket. He out of line.
Right.
Lou, you made a good point. You know, he got to live with one of them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? That's his preference. I mean, you know, it is what it is. But I think he was out of line for. He been out of line for a long time. Like
That's facts.
this ain't the first go around for
Right.
him. We know
Right.
his flavor. We know his cup of tea. Oh, his cup of chai latte. Gives a
Right.
sip, but I mean, he just out of pocket, and we should know that by now.
Right.
My boy, what's his name? Ryan Clark. He came to the defense as he should, as a black man, to check him on this situation and really, you know, bring the light to the subject of
It
what.
really was an educational moment for him.
Right. And that was he did it well. He did it very well. It
Yeah.
wasn't disrespectful. It was very well said how he broke it down. Now, AngelReese, Caitlin Clark, that's a rivalry that's never gonna go nowhere. They came in
Here
together.
to stay.
It started early, and it's gonna be that.
They was going at it in college. You know what I mean?
It ain't going nowhere. So it's not one sided. The dislike or the disdain or the whatever it is.
And just as a point, Tone, the fan bases add fuel to that because let's be real.
Oh yeah.
Let's just be real on both ends. And I'm being like Lou said here at Talk Your Shit. It's no capping.
Right.
On real, both fan bases got a little racism going on in there.
And that's fine.
No,
a little racism.
Let's just be real.
But listen,
we got a little bit of the MAGA, a little bit on the Caitlin side. We got a little bit of hood shit going on.
It's America, baby. It's America. We in America. This is what it is. It's built on that.
Right.
But you can't say AngelReese was acting out of anger, but she be dirty too. I didn't see some plays when she was fucking dirty.
And that's what I'm saying. People, it's not a good old American. And I know we want to catch these points, but I don't care. I'm leaving all this in there. We going like raw and uncut. I'll cut the and all the little spacer out, but I ain't cut none of this shit out.
Yeah.
All right. So, but being real, like that is big facts. There are little nuances that give AngelReese a reason to feel some kind of way on certain fouls. Like it looks routine. But there's a little shove afterwards to the ground. There's little things that come up and happen.
That foul that CaitlinClark did on her when she was driving to the lane, it was not a regular ass foul. She could have fouled her, secured the ball, or made her not stop in her path or whatever. That bitch chucked her like she was playing like 5-yard bump, and she chucked her ass. Boom, and she looked at her like, "Bitch, what's happening?" So that's why she got up like, "What's happening?" And they gonna try to make it seem like AngelReese was just over the line and doing some.
There's a little bit of behind it. There's a little mustard on some of those fouls, and that's all I'm saying. It's not always a common, traditional foul. But the point that I wanted to get to overall, for one, we know RG3. He's been doing this. This ain't nothing new. So I ain't even gonna comment on RG3. If you don't know, do yourself a favor. TikTok, search his name, bro. You're gonna get like 18 inappropriate.
Check the way he wears his suits.
The socks. This dude had capes on his socks, bro. Like, look,
he's horrible.
I'm gonna let you know. You will find all the inappropriate things that he said over the years, on air and off air. Okay, so that's not even it. Ryan Clark, as usual, eloquently said, well spoken. Just he basically gave the dude his packing papers without cursing him out, without being disrespectful, without disrespecting his lady. You know what I mean? He was respectful about it, but he educated him on the whole overall topic of just like not really understanding what a black woman's plight is, and really trying to educate himself on both ends of the situation. Because a lot of what RGD do to lose point, you're doing a lot of stuff because you got to go home with. But no, for real, she was in the background. She was back there cheering while he's doing the little video, and he's doing the little fake neck roll like he's trying to do like an attitude with a black girl, and she back there just
that's out of pocket,
cheering them on. So the thing about it is that there is a little bit of him playing to her and her feelings and what she feels too. So I mean, there is a little bit of that. And we know he's just, like I said, he's out of pocket. Salute to Ryan Clark. But to the point of AngelReese and Caitlin Clark, like Tone said, they are tied. Like Bird and Magic. You know what I mean? They're going to come in, they're going to go out, they're going to always be compared. They're always going to have, their careers are going to be compared. And rightfully so. I don't have an issue with that. The one thing that I feel about where AngelReese is coming from. And again, of course, this is gonna look like I'm a black man defending a black woman. I don't care. For one, I always defend black women.
That's
But
right.
this is not necessarily that situation. This is the truth. Point blank. Period. Caitlin Clark is the truth. She is. There's no denying that. She's got skill. She's proven it. You can't be in the league in your second year and already leading the league in triple doubles. That's crazy work.
Yeah.
That's crazy work. I mean, not leading the league, not leading. This is all time. How?
It's wild.
How?
The bitch is
You
dirty.
got to be good.
The
You
bitch
got
is
to be
dirty
real
too.
good.
But she's dirty too. The bitch is dirty too.
A dirty assist? I don't know how that could. How you getting 10 of them? You getting 10 a game. You getting 10 boards.
That bitch dirty.
Hey, and I'm not saying that. But again, I'm not saying that she's not dirty. I'm not saying that she don't have dirty plays. I'm not saying that I haven't seen AngelReese do some little dirty shit. I'm not saying that I haven't seen it. But here's what I'm saying. Here's the one thing that I will come in defense of AngelReese. AngelReese always has to answer. She can't have her career without Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark can have her career without AngelReese. And that's the difference. I think that's what AngelReese envies about Caitlin Clark. When Caitlin Clark comes in the room, the questions are about her. The questions are about what she did. The questions are about what she added to her team to help them progress. The questions are about what she can do to get better, about what the team can do. All those things are surrounded. She gets to have her career. When AngelReese does something, don't matter. Double, don't matter. So Caitlin Clark, she's always got an answer to her, an answer about her. And I think that is what pisses off AngelReese, because I can't have my own career. We know we're going to be tied. I'm not arguing that point. I'm not arguing that point. But when I do well or my team does well, ask me questions about me and my team. Don't ask me questions about her.
But she
Well, one
fine
Look it
thing
though.
up
that I would
yourself.
add
She
to
fine
that,
though.
and this just goes
That
back
may be true.
down into
She
history.
fine as hell.
This goes down into history, and you can almost kind of like name, especially like in football, you know what I mean? Like when a white player does something astronomical that's average for a black player, they get all this super love, you know what I mean? When
Yeah.
black players do it, in their sleep, so Caitlin,
Yeah. I mean, prime
Caitlin
example,
scoring,
Jason Sehorn.
I was
Jason
just gonna say,
Sehorn, white cornerback.
what's his name? The running back at Cat McCaffrey's and all of these dudes
Yeah.
or whatever.
McCaffrey. Your boy,
Brock Purdy.
what's his name? I can't think of his name. But you're right though. I mean, it's just especially when it's in a position where they don't Ashton Dejean, the little kid from the Eagles that wanted. He's a good cornerback, but when you white cornerback and you getting pick sixes, you're gonna be on ESPN for
Exactly.
sure. You know what I'm saying? Like
They
it is how that works. But
so I just think, anytime you have a white player, kind of like playing outside the scope of what people expect from, those kind of players or whatever the case may be, they're gonna get a little bit more, TV time. They're gonna get a few more, cameras in their face and little, interviews and things like that, because people are not used to people that look like them doing or, performing at that level.
yeah, I think everybody understands that. I think the major issue, like I said, and I think what AngelReese has her biggest issue is like she can be great and let her be great and ask her questions when she's great, but don't always ask me about what she's doing. Don't always ask me about how she accomplished something,
Right.
or when she does it. What do you think about AngelReese not doing something? Like,
Yeah.
or Caitlin Clark not doing. Like AngelReese is like, we just won by 8. You see what I'm saying? Like, why would you ask me about Caitlin Clark not getting her third triple double in a row? You know what I mean? Like, why would I care about that? And then her response, now you can pin her as the attitude. Because now she got an attitude with the media people because she don't want to answer questions about a lady that's not on her team and has nothing to do with what happened tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Reese
So
to
like
beat her ass. That's it. Reese needs to go beat her ass. That's it.
But you know what though? That's not gonna
Thanks.
go in her favor though. It ain't gonna go in her favor. Hey,
Thanks.
you'll be vindicated, but in the world she's already a villain. That would just solidify everything. That would just make them. They would be like, "Yep, that's exactly what we knew. Get her up, get her out of here, get her out of here with her endorsements. She make more money off her endorsements and her off the court stuff than she do on the court. She only make $80,000 a year on the court. You don't want to mess up that shit with your image by doing something crazy. Oh, come on, bro. Now you talking something different.
She need an OnlyFans.
Now you talking something different, bro. Hey, man, get out of that girl DMs, man. Leave that girl alone, bro. Hey, yo, That's a good discussion, man. I think we got time for one more. What y'all think? One more?
Go ahead. Let's
One more
do it.
topic?
Let's go.
Shoot it.
Hey, man, I've been wanted to talk about this whole situation with the McGuinness girl, the transgender. What's her name? Katie McGuinness. I
Katie
think it's
McGuinness.
Katie. Yeah, yeah. About her. Lou, tell us more. I know this is one of the topics that Lou wanted to discuss. Like, give us a little bit of insight of what you saw, because I know you gave us a little bit of high level stuff, but like, what is this about? I know this is about a transgender, in the sports competition type of situation. What happened?
So we know this is not the first account of, this new age, in the sports world where transgender players are, let's say, for instance, a person who is biologically a male and born that way, having, um a change and now being able to or sanctioned to be able to play in female sports. Those who were born as biological females, which Katie, I think, came on. I believe she came on some news show or whatever the case may be. I don't want to be wrong about, the platform in which she came on and on the news, just really gave, her points or whatever the case may be, not bashing or anything like that, but just saying that she thought it was unfair that, she's been, number one, and it only took for a person who was, not necessarily that was born a male to come and, kind of like knock her off. And all of this started because, and it went viral because after the ceremony and after they got their medals, of course, the transgender player were holding the top spot on, on the podium. The girl who won second, after they took all the pictures and everything like that, took her own picture on the stand as number one. You know what I mean? And so that picture went viral, and it brought the controversy and the conversation, which, I
Yeah.
mean, just bringing it to my, you know what I mean? I'm a father that has 3 daughters. If my daughters are dominant in a certain sport or whatever the case may be, and they are competing at a high level, I would be a little disappointed myself if a person who had some biological changes or whatever came in and was able to play the same sports, at the same time and being able to dominate a sport that really belonged to, women that were born females. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to add that piece because those who are having those surgeries or things like that, they consider themselves to be women as well. You know what I mean? And for me, no shade or anything like that. But what I'm just saying is for those who are born that way. You know what I mean? I think that there is a disparity. She brought up an account where in male sports, if a person was taking PEDs or they were giving themselves, pills, extra testosterone or what somebody, they would say that it was cheating. But she's like, well, this person already starts with more testosterone than any of us in a sport that we have been in since day one. So why are we not calling for the same people to say and to make the sport as fair as possible as if we were dealing with all males?
I totally get that, Lou and Joe. I'm gonna come to you real quick, but I just wanted to give my quick two because I'm real quick because I don't really have a lot of tolerance on this. I'm just being honest. Yeah, I don't want to play the game. I don't subscribe to it. I'm just being honest. If you want to be in your land and believe that you are what you are, it's fine. It's just like I can believe that I'm this microphone phone thing here and believe it with all my heart. I'm not going to be mad if you don't believe that I am. If that's just what I want to do for me, that makes me feel okay, it's one thing. When I impose that on others and on the world and into government and laws and into schools and churches, that is where I draw the line. I don't have no tolerance. I'm not fucking playing. I'm cool. I don't want you to go. I'm not telling you like other people are like erase these niggas from the earth and shit. Like I ain't trying to. If you ain't hurting nobody, I'm fine with you. Go do what you want to do. Love who you want to love. I don't care. I am telling you when you try to impose it on the rest of us and then insert law that makes us have to change our speech, change how we speak, change how we talk to people, change what verbiage we use. in order to make sure you have comfort, I don't subscribe. That's not something I do. So I'm gonna cut mine short. That's just pretty much it. It's not fair. I would be on the top of the petition list signing. I would be in the front of the line, especially if it was my daughter. I'm just being real. And I have 3 sons, Lou. Nor would I want my sons to be in the league where they're playing against young ladies. I don't care. I'm just being honest.
Right.
And my son would have the advantage. I still don't want you in the league where, like, if my son Riley's playing high school football and girls be playing tackle these days. They do. Right. I'm a referee. I see it all the time. Put the pads and the helmet on. And don't get me wrong, you out here, you gonna get to work. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, I would feel some kind of way. My son going to lay out this girl. You see what I'm saying? Right. He's doing what he's taught to do. She shouldn't be out there.
Right.
Shouldn't be out there. Let's get a league for the ladies.
Yeah.
I know there's one with the lingerie. We ain't talking about that. I'm not talking about that league. But there is yeah, look at Tone. He knows what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that league. That's a whole other league.
And Tone,
but they could create a league. Huh?
Hold on. Before you go real quick, I just wanted to add this one more point, and then you can go ahead and take it. But for me, I just believe that, you have to, be careful in things like that as far as your own league. And this is what I mean, because you can't just stop there. So you have to ask yourself, where does it stop? Because if you got your own leagues, do you need your own bathroom? You know what I mean? Do you need your own this and need your own that? Because these are the same people that are sharing bathrooms, they're sharing locker rooms, they're sharing, things like that. So it's going to go into a whole lot of other things that will become a discussion point, when we start talking about the laws and changing things or whatever.
Right, but Lou, it is an exclusive thing if you tell people they can't start their own and you can't be a part of this. You see what I'm saying? Like,
that makes sense.
So that's why I'm like, as an alternative to make everybody happy, hey, we still get to play the sport that we love. You still get to play the sport that you love. You just can't compete against people that you are faster, bigger, stronger, and more athletically sound. Like, you can't do that. You have to compete against people who have the equal athleticism. That's all I'm saying. And if y'all want to, then you can. You still have free. But I guess what? I bet you this. They ain't going to want to. Because you ain't going to feel like you're included. You see what I'm saying? And that's where the issue is.
Well, this is my thing. I would also add on this end or whatever, sorry about that, Joe, is that if you want to be the best and you do have the testosterone in your being to be able to do so, why not run against the boy? Women will always want to be equal anyway. You want to call yourself a woman just because you change your physical doesn't mean you can't still run against boys. What would stop this transgender community from running against
you're missing
boys?
the point though. And I get what you said. I want to get Tone's son, but you're missing the point because again, that still goes back. It still goes back. I get what we all gonna say, why can't you run with the boys? They don't feel like they did a change. They feel like it was already there. You see what I'm saying? They don't feel like they feel like it was already there. So here, you guys go here. I'm not gonna argue with you. You say you feel like you've always been that way. That's fine. You say you're not a part of the boys. You're not a part of the boys. Even though you're not a part of the boys. That's fine. But we also know you're not a part of this group here that was born here. So we're gonna make sure you got your own space. That's all. That's it. But the point of it is, no, you want to be in this space because you feel like you are the same, and that's where the argument goes off. Like, you feel like you are 100% the same. But Joe, let me get your point on.
He was born. You got to run. That's what I'm saying. If you was born with a vagina, you go to run with the vagina. Go jump. You go jump. So
Tom, what do you bleep all that?
Look,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you say to those people then? Because then you can't use that logic.
Well, you got an X chromosome, you got a Y chromosome. Which one you got? Because they don't lie. The
Tom, for one thing, you gotta look at it like this. Some people are born with both, bro, and then the doctor make you choose at that point. So, or they make the parent choose.
Whatever you're rolling with, whatever you got, you had to make a choice. If you got both, then you can pick and choose.
It should be a situation or a decision that was made at birth. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for sure.
And so for me, that's what I meant. If you were born with the same testosterone as I was, you running with us. If you running with the estrogen that when you were born with that, even if you got a mustache, you can roll with them. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with that. I'm with that.
That's
right
all.
there.
I'm just saying, if your body composition fit with those who are running with you, then I say it should be fine. It doesn't matter about your outside physical. You know what I mean? It
Right.
should matter on what was there in the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that,
And we
it should
was and we
match.
talking
It
about
sh-
high school. We
Hey,
talking about
look.
this was
in
high
my
school.
opinion, it should match with those you are running with
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
the
but hey,
closest
you know
to.
what? We can go at this forever though, Lou, because you for one, y'all know how I feel, so y'all know that. Trust me. But I mean, just being devil's advocate, if I'm the defense attorney for these people, then I'm gonna say that they were chosen wrong at birth. That's the way I feel, and that's the argument they're gonna come with.
You say what?
They're
You
gonna
got to talk
that
to
it was the
God
wrong.
about that.
No. I understand what you're saying, Tone, but what I'm saying is that's a true statement and a true argument that they truly believe. It's like you're saying, well, I'm born, okay, well, they made the
Yeah.
choice whether at birth or this chromosome, and that person argued that they can argue that that was the wrong decision. You see what I'm saying? That person could truly argue that. And
Yeah.
then you're going to
But
make
they
them go
only
by what was decided at birth. You see what I'm saying? You're making them go by what was decided at birth, even though they feel it was a wrong decision because they don't feel like they are that.
And
I
You see
sometimes,
what
don't
I'm saying?
and this is where you would have to separate feelings as opposed to what is,
But
because
but
we
but
can't,
but, but again, that's the point. Then you then are dictating to these people. You see what I'm saying? You're dictating to them. That's what where I'm saying. If I'm the defense attorney, I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that. You see what I'm saying? Because again, I'm basing my shit up and what I feel is factual. You said I had both chromosomes. They chose the male. I don't feel like I'm male. You see what I'm saying? I don't feel like I ever was. I feel like they made a wrong decision. You see what I'm saying?
and as soon
I wasn't there
as,
to make it.
so listen, with Katie, her very, very best, and this is number one, like nobody in the, let me just use this as an example. I don't know if this is true or not. Let's just say, for instance, nobody in the country is better than you. And your best, you just beat your best. It's 18-9.
Yeah.
And then your friend comes over, you know what I mean? They've just been admitted to this particular league or whatever. And on the first practice jump, you jumping a 19-3. We're not
That
having
nigga
this.
jumped
I
out
don't
the
care about
gym.
I don't care
He
what
jumped
your
out the
lawyer
gym.
say. I don't care what your lawyer says as far as what your choice was. Y'all don't do 19-3, bruh. You don't do 19-3. You
You
never
can't.
done
Yeah,
19-3.
you don't make that choice though.
That
No,
nigga
but what
that
I'm
nigga
telling
You
jumped
can
out
say
the
you don't care
he jumped,
about. Like I
yeah.
said, I agree with you. Let's just make sure the
He
disclaimers
jumped
out
out the
there. Hey, y'all
sandpit
hear
on
me?
that one.
Disclaimers out there. I agree. But what I'm telling you is, if I'm the defense attorney, you can't prove that.
no, but
You
what I'm trying
can't
to say
prove that
is
that
this.
can't be done just because she couldn't do it.
What I'm saying as the judge is I don't give a damn what you're saying, sir. We're not allowing it. That's what I'm saying. Because
Okay, well, if you're
this
gonna do
person
that,
got to go to a judge. And if I see
yeah, if you're gonna
19-3
do that.
and
But what I'm
19-3,
saying, even still,
listen, we're going
come
to let
on,
you,
yeah.
but it's called, I'm going to let you have your due process. You're going to be able to come to court to talk to me if you want to. That's okay. That's your right. But I'm denying your ass after 19-3. You see what I'm trying to say? And
Judge
guess
I
what?
get
Lou.
what you're saying,
The
Lou.
court, the court,
I wouldn't argue with you if it was my daughter. I wouldn't argue with you if it was my daughter. I'm
Judge
not saying
Lou.
that. I wouldn't argue with you. Just perfectly within their right to feel that way. I understand. That's just astronomical. It hasn't been done, and all of a sudden you come out doing it on your first try, which means you can go further than that.
Yeah.
So I totally get what you're saying. Not wrong. All I'm trying to say is, if we're talking real court, real laws, you got to prove it.
Get
You
your
got
ass
to
over there
prove
with
it.
the men where you supposed to be. That's where you supposed to be.
But yeah, I mean, we all agree with that. But I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like I
but
said, the argument is still
that's not
there.
necessarily true. You also have to prove that you can run with those girls. It ain't just because you feel like it. You can't just because you feel like it decide I'm whatever. You have to prove, like you have to go through a process. These people have to actually go through, the change. You have to go through a real rigorous process for them to even okay you to run with those girls. Ask anyone. Like it's not just because you feel it. They had a surgery. They went through counseling through the 2 or 3 years. I'm telling you, like we can look at it up and go a little further
No,
on.
but that just proves my point. I'm saying that person feels like they feel so strongly that it was a mistake with their gender at birth that they do go through those sex
Oh,
change.
no,
They
no, no,
do
no.
go through
I'm
the
just saying,
process.
yeah, that's fine. And a lot of those people, even when they're not playing sports, They don't do those surgeries unless they know a person is ready. So take the sports out of it. You still got to go through that process that I'm explaining to even switch. You know what I mean? And then after that, if I'm saying that
I get that.
you are outperforming the males and you think you're a female, I don't give a damn what you think. The proven is that it's just not, it's not what it is. And I have to,
Look.
and as a judge, I got to be the one to say, you know what? I don't think they made a mistake because I think you jumping 19-3. Then, you know, so.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But,
So
I mean, like I
therefore,
said, if you're the
I'm gonna
judge, I
drop my
get it.
goddamn gavel and I'm denying this shit.
Nah, I get it.
That's right.
All I'm saying is I understand the aspect of it, but being in a situation where if it gets to that point, I would agree with the judge, but I also understand the fact of a devil's advocate, and you really do have people that be in a situation where that they feel like it's an injustice, like they with their sexuality or whatever it is. And again, that's something you got to deal with. Like you said, outside of sports or whatever it is. I mean, that's something those individuals got to deal with, whether they want to be a part of a program or not. That leads me to my last point. We always talk about our mental health check-in. You know how it is with the brothers. We always want to make sure we check in with the brothers. But anybody that watches, anybody that's a part of it, if you're dealing with something, and you got something going on in your life, you need somebody to, this is a safe space to come and holler at us and talk about whatever you need to talk about. But you know what? Sometimes you may not have that person that you can do. Just know that you got it always here, man. We thinking about y'all. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Hey, man, this is RggiTV. Talk your shift. We up out of here.